I'm so excited to be performing the Britten Violin Concerto with the Shepherd Symphony Orchestra in about a month. With so many of my friends on stage with me, it'll be so much fun. And I thought I would make some videos about why I love the piece, my approach to learning the piece, and how I got interested in this piece. So I first got into the composer, Benjamin Britten, because of his opera Peter Grimes. It was a fascinating opera. It was so dark and intense, and when I saw it for the first time, I was really interested in the source material. So I read the original poem that it's based off of, and I was really surprised by the differences. Peter Grimes is an opera about a fisherman who may or may not have killed two of his apprentices, and in the poem it's based on, he's an outright murderer. So I became really interested in the kind of person who would do a retelling that made someone morally ambiguous as opposed to a murder. And that's when I got crazy obsessed with Britten. I read every book I could get my hands on. And it was really interesting because he's such a complex man. He's a hero now in his country. He's a homosexual. He was a pedophile. He was mean. There were so many complexities about this man, and I saw a lot of similarities between him and his protagonist, Peter Grimes, if you can call him a protagonist, because Peter Grimes was mean and hated by the society around him, but he was not a murderer, he was not monstrous. And Britain being gay in a time when it was illegal would have seemed monstrous to the society around him because of his homosexuality. But him writing about Peter Grimes makes me think that he knew that this kind of thing does not make anyone monstrous. So it was really exciting to see the autobiographical links between him and his characters. And because I was so steeped in his music and in books about him together, as well as letters and diary entries, that kind of thing, I couldn't help but see a lot of correlations between them. And so I was listening to the violin concerto, which just sounded really hard, but was so gorgeous, and I loved it from the beginning. I listened to it once and then decided I wouldn't play it until I really thought that it would be a good time in my life. And I ended up playing it during a time when there was so much ambiguity in my life, and I felt such an affinity for Britten because of his complexity. Because just when you read enough about someone, when you know enough about someone, the good things, the bad things, they cease to be good or bad. It's a more complete picture of who they are as a person, because it allows for contradiction. And that's one of the things I love so much about his violin concerto, is that it allows for the unknown, it allows for the ambiguous. And some of the autobiographical stuff that I found about the piece, I mean, it's one of his earlier compositions, and when he would have been struggling as an individual with the society around him, especially being homosexual. And so, not to reduce the piece to any one meaning at all. In fact, I see so many ways that this piece has meaning. But the one that's meant the most for me while working on it is as the struggle to find your sexuality in a place where it's not comfortable to. And this is kind of a spoiler alert, but the violin concerto ends with the violinist, the solo violinist, trilling between two notes. So it's ambiguous if the violin ends with the orchestra, which could be seen as a society or as an individual on its own, outcast. And that was something I loved about the piece from the very beginning. Working on something like this was so freeing because it made me feel like it was permissible for things in my life not to be good or bad. I felt like I could have the contradictions that I had and that I could explore what's the most fun I can have while still being moral and what does that mean? All of these questions and complexities I thought I could question and search because this piece so honestly searches. And I'll get more into dualities later, but there are three central dualities that I find in the piece, which are then fractured. And that was so important to me because, in the same way that Britain and people ceased to be good or bad and just became themselves, I feel like the piece does that in form as well. So that is how I got really interested in Britain and fell in love with this violin concerto. I'm so excited to play it, and I'm excited to do more little videos where I can fully show how obsessed I am and not care because I don't know if anyone's watching these. Um, so, yeah, but thanks for watching. Bye.